Congratulations on the third season pick ahead of the second season premiere. How did you guys come up with taking the next season to Spain?
Part of the fun of the show, and also part of what I think makes it cool and interesting for the audience, is allowing them to see how the Walker apocalypse has affected different parts of the world. In this case, we were in France for the first two seasons, but because there's a constant sort of attempt for Daryl and then Carol to try to get back home, there's a movement, and the movement geographically, led them to Spain in the story, but also we thought it would be really cool because it's even though it's right across the border from France, it's a totally different vibe, it's a totally different sort of cultural history and all these other kinds of things that we can infuse the story with. So it seemed like a great way to sort of say, okay, we're moving ahead, and we're also allowed to sort of reinvent the show even in the third season.
Hello, my name is Mari Gons. I'm from Aftenposten, Norway. I have a Comic-Con related question for Melissa, Norman, and anybody else who wants to answer. Can you guys just describe what it's like for you guys to be in Hall H and interact with the fans?
It's so special and so overwhelming, and I'm so glad that it's dark. Just for me personally, I would flip out if I could actually see the amount of people in that room.
Sorry. No, it's we've been coming to Hall H for like 13 years or something, and it's always been packed. I think the first season was in a different hall, but I wasn't invited to that one. I think it was just 3 actors that were originally there with Frank. But we would film in the woods and not really have contact with the outside world for a while, and then we would come to Comic-Con and there'd be 7,000 people screaming. So I feel like, especially this Comic-Con, it's the fans have been a part of the show since day one, and we've had tons of support. So something about coming back here just feels great all the time.
You said earlier today in the hall, 13 years.
Yeah.
Crazy.
14. Yeah. 14. We started 2010.
That's amazing.
I think it's also interesting because the show the comic book had such a big following. So not only were we able to sort of capitalize on that following, but to come in and look, if you look at the stuff that's on TV now versus the stuff that was on TV 14 years ago, there was nothing like the show. When Frank started trying to sell it, we made 4 zombie busts. And we took the busts to all the different networks, and everybody said no. Like, oh, it's too boring. No, we're not going to make the show. AMC was the one place that said, yeah, let's do it. And the big question was like, well, how are we going to pay tribute to the graphic novel? So, the thing about it is I feel like when we stepped into the first Comic-Con panel, we already had a little bit of that juice from the comic book, but then seeing Rick in the Flash and seeing Rory and seeing Shane in the Flash, and I was saying in the panel earlier, it really did invigorate and energize us to go back and finish shooting with a bang, because we knew that we were making something that people were excited about and wanted to see. And that's really, it's really important, because we've been fortunate enough to be a part of something that's changed television history. And that's a legacy that we're grateful after 14 years, and we're still doing it. We still have that opportunity to tell great stories and to seduce our fans into falling in love with these great characters.
All right, Julian here from the Nicotero. It's good to see all of you again. For Norman and Melissa, since we're going to be going towards the second season, does this mean that we see different ranges of both your acting?
Different ranges of our acting?
Yes.
No. I mean, 15 years we've played a whole lot of range. What's left? The stories are different. The relationships are different. The setting's different. everything from the light is different. So different things happen to us, so you'll see us, have different variations of emotion through different things. Will you see us cry? Yeah. You see us scream? Yeah. You see us fight for our lives? Yeah. All of those things that we've been doing, since day one, they're all there. But the show's very different in Europe. I said it in all age, but you're on a TV show that becomes such a massive thing, and it sort of moves itself, and you get swept up in the monster, We reinvented the show here. It looks different. Half is in French. It's completely different. The relationships are different. The show itself feels to me like we're making art again, like we did at the beginning of the show in Georgia. I say it all the time to, I miss independent film. That's how I started in this business, making these independent films. There's an independent feel to what we're doing in a whole scale way there. So, everything's different.
I have to say that one of my favorite scenes is with the two of them. That the connections that are made between the characters, the landscape of France, it's so beautiful, but it's all like it's all like a gift wrap to these new things that are evolving within, like Daryl, for instance. He goes someplace I've never seen him go before, as far as acting or the character, a little deeper, in a very special way. I can't wait for people to see it. It's really super special.
The other thing I'll just say about the range of these two amazing actors is that the show allows us to really focus in season one on Daryl, and season two on Daryl and Carol in a way that the Mothership didn't, because the Mothership was a big ensemble. So they have to carry the story entirely through those two characters for the most part, and that just, I think, allows Norman and Melissa more room to do more things and to really always be focal. We don't cut away to two other stories or three other stories. In season two, it's all Daryl and Carol. In season one, it was, Norman had to carry that story all the way through from beginning to end of that season. So I think that allows the characters to sort of blossom in certain ways that are different, and it allows the actors to demonstrate a wider range and face more challenges.
There's one other thing too, is that I find it interesting, having been part of the franchise from day one, there's things that happen in season two that even surprise me about choices that these characters make. There's in the premiere episode, which I directed, there's a scene with Melissa and Ash, and there's a moment there that I didn't see coming when I read the script, and when we shot it, and it was really interesting because you feel like you know Carol, and you feel like you know, and then she just makes this one statement, and it really makes you look at her differently. And I really appreciate that they're getting that opportunity. And it's the same with Daryl. There's surprises that their characters go through that still give us more layers of who they are.
But we're also older. You know what I mean? We've learned things. We do things too. Part of the except Greg. We're all older with Greg. But when they pitched us the show originally, it was like, but you can't make the same show in Georgia in Europe. It wouldn't make any sense, and it wouldn't be fun for us. So all the things that we were hoping to do, never had a chance to do because it was such a large cast of characters. We're getting to explore different roads. So it's completely different.
There's a lot of action coming in season two, and the writing is really tight. What we noticed is that there's a lot going on, but it still breathes.
Yeah.
It's not just like we've got to hit a plot point to get to A to B.
Yeah.
It breathes. We're going to feel this. We're going to ride this emotion. We're going to end up here. So it feels like a good ride instead of a popping river.
Which you don't get to do when you're surfing a 3,000-foot wave and there's $1 billion flying, right? You know what I'm saying? So, yeah.
Thank you.
Hi guys. So talking about the comics and the comic book, I know that the world has gone beyond the comic and the comic run has finished. But I was wondering if the new show, are there any sort of Easter eggs or anything that gives homage? I know that Carol is a really big character in the comic book. And so I don't know if this new show also has some of those like Easter eggs for the comic book lovers.
Yeah, most of the Easter eggs that we do are mostly connected to the original show. So we haven't focused as writers as much on the comic book, although we love it and respect it. But we really, especially in Daryl's case, he didn't exist in the comic book. So there's not that many Easter eggs to the comic book specifically. Although we were joking recently because there is one comic book what do you call it? The special. I forget the term, but there was one special edition comic book in which it's revealed that Rick Grimes' brother was in Barcelona. So we were kind of, ruminating on that, like the fact that Rick Grimes supposedly had a brother in Barcelona. But that's that's the kind of Easter egg we occasionally talk about. But I don't know that we'll get to that.
Find his dead body.
Hi, Julie from France, Journal to Geek. My question is, was it hard for you as actor and for you as writer and director to balance between French and English, and how do you create a tone in comedy or in drama with those two languages?
Well, it's a good question. One of the big conversations that went on for a while was how much French there should be in the show or not. We were all at this table in support of authenticity, so trying to allow French characters to speak French when they should, when they ought to, and of course, if they need to communicate with our characters, then either someone's translating or they speak enough English that they can communicate. So we wanted it to feel authentic, and I think that's worked really well on the show, but there's quite a bit of French language. And in terms of tone, I think in general, like this was already alluded to, but I think we were definitely trying to have a European tone. And even what Melissa was just saying, in terms of letting it breathe and having sort of cinematic moments and also just allowing things to breathe and not feel like this sort of sort of stereotypical TV thing of like boom, 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 gotta go, plot point, zombies all the time. We try to make them all count, So Greg and I talked a lot about that. It's like, it's not about the quantity of walkers, for example. It's about making sure that every time we have them, they mean something and they're cool and they're doing something, rather than just sort of throwing them randomly at moments. So I think that speaks to the tone of the show. And certainly it's infused by all the French artists who contributed to the show. The crew is 97% French. And we had a French writer on the show, and so a lot of contributions from the French, and trying to not be dumb American. From my point of view as a writer, trying not to be like a dumb American tourist in terms of how we told stories, and really looking at French culture and history and trying to let that be in the story, and not just be kind of like, oh, here's the Eiffel Tower, and that's all you need to know. Like, it's not just that.
Right. Yeah, we wanted the French to feel like it was partly their show. It's not an American show shooting in France. We really wanted to embrace the culture. I remember Norman and I sat in my kitchen in Georgia during season 5, and he talked about maybe there's a Man Called Bronson sort of spin-off where Daryl goes off and the show is really about how they're changed when they meet someone. And that person is changed by meeting Daryl, by meeting Carol. And that's what we set out to do. And I think we've accomplished that very well. But the idea that we want it to feel like a French show, and it's not an American show.
Where is Brian? Brian is in the kitchen.
Yeah, where is Brian? Yeah.
See, you know what that means because you're French.
Yeah.
We all know this.
So in school, when kids are learning English, tell me if I'm wrong, one of the sentences they first learn is, where is Brian? Brian is in the kitchen.
Right.
So we shoot that, and I'm like, what are you talking about? And
I actually got a network note on that. The network note on why is it Brian should it be like what John or Joe?
Yeah, why is he in the kitchen?
No, because that's the thing. Like when the French learn English, they learn where's Brian? Brian is in the kitchen. Don't tell me Brian's the wrong name. Like, that's the real thing.
And Easter egg.
Yeah.
Hi, I'm Cindy. I had a question for Norman and Melissa. So there's so much intimacy between your two characters. There's such a camaraderie, and I wanted to know if you can give us any spoilers. Do you think that you guys will eventually be together? Will something happen?
well, in season 3, you find out that we're related. yeah, episode 1.
Spoiler. Yeah.
I don't know. I don't write it. Never say never.
Okay, and then also just quickly, legacy of your characters. Is there some kind of legacy that you sort of want to leave behind after the show is over?
Wow. I mean, our clothes are already in the Smithsonian. You know, there's a shark named after me in Coney Island. What else do you need?
That's good stuff on that point. There's also, I think, characters mean a lot to a lot of people.
Yeah.
And inspire. That always gets me.
Yeah.
But you've had, I feel like this is kind of just a little offshoot of your question, but I feel like my character, I feel like we're having a lot more fun with these characters.
Yeah.
Like there was a lot of heavy stuff to go through to get to this point. Not that there's not a lot of heavy stuff ahead. I just feel like it's something different. I don't know.
It feels,
more fun.
it has the energy of the first couple of seasons of our original show. Like we're excited. It's fun to shoot. But also, like we were talking about before with the language, part of it being in French is that we don't know what you're saying. Like are we gonna fight? Are we gonna fight? Are we gonna get along? Like it's part of the storyline, you know. And now you got the two of our characters trying to figure stuff out together. You know, it's you know what I mean?
Yeah, I mean that's a really good point because the characters have been through so much and are so strong in so many ways, so powerful in so many ways that the disorientation of even not understanding the language creates vulnerability that I think is very useful that we were really leaning into. Which goes back to your question too. It's like if everybody spoke English, it's very easy. It's much easier, isn't it? But if they don't, then it's a new kind of challenge for Norman in season 1 and then for Melissa's character in season 2.
Alright, hello, my name is Diego. So pretty much I've been watching the show since I was 9. I am now 19.
I feel really old.
We're all older.
Except Greg.
So pretty much been watching.
I just want to say, when you started watching the show, I had hair like Greg's. I'm just telling you.
So I'm pretty much watching everything Walking Dead related, and obviously The Walking Dead has such a huge fan base. I was wondering after season 1 came out, did you have any fan feedback that you considered into season 2?
Was there a lot of fan interaction after season 1? What?
I'm just saying that you consider anything you wanted to change for season 2 after the feedback from season 1.
From Georgia days?
No, from
show.
now
what would I change?
Fan reaction.
Oh, no. No, it's all.
Yeah, I think I'm.
I mean, they were kind of conceived simultaneously. I mean, to be honest, we knew that Carol was going to come on before we started doing season 1. So, yes, it's 2 seasons, but the 12 episodes are really conceived as a whole. And we got a lot of positive feedback. We didn't, so there wasn't any mandate from anybody to change much. It was like, great, we like the first 6, and because they were all together anyway, it was just like, keep going, you know. So there wasn't a lot. I mean, one of the only questions, not to keep coming back to this, but the constant question that I kept fighting and with these guys behind me too was why is there so much French in this show? And I was like, because they're in France, you know, that's why.
Do you have some thoughts?
No, I was just wondering if
Diego, you're already on the shit list.
But yeah, I was just wondering if you guys considered anything differently for season 2 after season 1. Anything story-wise, or any characters, or
season 2 is way more action, like Melissa said. It's episode 1, season 1 is me trying to figure out where the hell I'm at, right? Season 2 is like there's a lot more going on, right?
Yeah.
There's a lot more. And it's not just action all the time. There's a lot.
But in
There's
essence,
a lot.
Oh, sorry.
A lot.
Yeah, in essence, in season 2, you have 2 stories coming together.
Yeah.
So sort of double, you know, it creates a lot more intensity and momentum and more action because we're telling Carol's story and Daryl's story kind of parallel to each other for a lot of it.
And Laurent's story. Laurent's story amps up quite a bit.
I think it's interesting too because when we first set out to shoot the show, we were only doing 1 season. And then I flew to Paris and it was like, okay, we're going to do 8 episodes or 6 episodes. And then it was like, oh, we're just going to keep going. We'll shoot season 2 at the same time. So it went from like a 4-month thing to like over a year. And I think one of the things for me that was really interesting was you land, you get in a bus and you start touring the locations. You get in a train and you go to all these different countries. And we were kind of like, wow, there's a lot of story to tell here. And you know, the Pont de Gare and the bridge and all the places that we shot. And every time we would shoot somewhere, it was almost like it gave us 10 more ideas of things that we wanted to do. So that was kind of exciting. And I think even Norman and I had a conversation once, like, man, we could go every season, we could go to a different country and experience that culture. And I think that's kind of what led to the Madrid of it, which is there's a lot of great post-apocalyptic stories to tell with all of these different cultures. And I think that's the goal. That's the goal for the show.
Okay, thank you so much.
Thanks, everybody. That's all the time we'll have for today.